I think it's pretty crazy that in a world of the Nintendo Switch 2, Steam Deck, all these handheld PCs like the ROG Ally X, that handheld gaming feels honestly dead and non existent in the modern era. And this realization came to me in June, shortly after the Nintendo Switch 2 came out. It came out on like a Friday, I believe, and that Sunday I had to leave for a week long work trip. And I just remember thinking, like, that Switch 2 is like $450, $500 plus tax. And at that price point, it was just too expensive for me to want to take the shiny new toy out on an airplane and in a hotel. I'm probably a little germophobic. It's probably a personal issue, but I think those places are disgusting. I didn't want to take my like shiny new device like in these like just gross places. And to be honest, like I'm traveling and I'm working. I'm not in the hotel that much. Like it just seemed like overkill. And so I brought my Nintendo Switch 1, and Nintendo like completely nerfed the digital sharing. Like throughout the Nintendo Switch, like I'm a mix of physical and digital like owner. Digital has its perks, and I was going to utilize those perks of my digital library for travel. But I actually bought two Nintendo Switch 2s. I have one back there under the TV, if you can see, and then I have this one for the video that I have with a grip from the handheld. And so because of the two, we bought two because one for me and my wife, and then also we have two kids that are going to be older, and I truly believe the Switch 2 is going to go up in price in 2026 because a comment that Nintendo has made about the price is going to be the same up until the end of the year. It's like, why would you specify that if there's no reason, like we can't expect it to go up in price in 2026? Like why even say specifically until the end of the year? Why not just say it's just not going to go up in price? So we bought two at launch. It's just a long term play. May as well have it. So I set both of them up as my primary switches because that's a new thing they introduced. So both my Switch 2s are primary switch. I can download the games on both of them. And because then I was going on this trip, the Switch 1, I had to like reset up my Switch 1 as a primary device and like hold both of them close to each other. And it was just a huge pain just to be able to then have my digital games on the Switch 1. And so that's going to become more of a pain for more people throughout the generation as they get multiple devices. And like I thought this was a good utility for my Switch 1 because the Switch 2 makes the Switch 1 basically completely obsolete. And so like already out the gate, it was a frustrating experience. Like you basically have to use physical games on a Switch 1 at this point if you have more than one Switch 2. And sure, this is going to carry over to the Switch 3 down the line. And throughout this trip, I had my Switch 1 in my backpack. I had a suitcase and then just my like backpack carry on. And just throughout this trip, like it really noticed how big and bulky the Switch 1 was just sitting there in my bag. And it honestly became annoying to have it. I almost regretted bringing it, especially because the amount of times I actually played it just for a little bit of time killing. Like, it just wasn't worth it. And remind you, that was the Switch 1. The Switch 2 is bigger. And I think the Switch 2 is actually so big. Like originally I had to buy this $30 grip for it because it's just so big. I don't know if my hands are too small or what, but this is uncomfortable to use without a grip. And so it's just like this is bigger than the Switch 1. So every problem I had with the Switch 1 on this work trip, the Switch 2 would have been even worse. And it's like I don't want to bring the Switch 2 on this work trip, like on any future work trip. And with those little bit of times I have, like if I get an hour in the hotel and I just want to kill a little time and play a game, like I don't want to just be watching like cutscenes and doing side quests on my main console game. Like I just want to play like Tetris or something. So if you have like a PC handheld and you're emulating games, like that form factor is such overkill for just like little like Game Boy games or something, which is exactly why I bought an Anbernic, like this like SP looking model. Like this is a $50 device, and like I only want this for like Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and then like Super Nintendo and NES games because I mean those games are already like re-released on the GBA anyways. And so this is something that's $50, so it like meets all my needs. It's way tinier. Like look at the size comparison with the Switch 2 because you can't fold up the Switch 2. So like just like look at that size difference. It's so much tinier. Like this thing can fit in like a pocket, a Coke pocket. And like the best part is like I can just get a second one of these guys for $50. And so all my issues on a plane, in the hotel, just like a travel one even if I break it or something, it's kind of like it's $50. I don't want to like undermine like the value of a dollar, but like it's not a $500 console that I'm like, I want to keep nice and pristine. It's $50. If it breaks, it'd be like that sucks. That's sad. But it's like it's a lot less end of the world. It doesn't feel like as big of a deal as if like my Switch 2 breaks. And the Switch 2 is the cheapest of these like handhelds. Like the ROG Ally X is $1,000. Why would I want to pay $1,000 to play like an NES emulator on the go? You know what I mean? And it's like I don't know, these devices completely conflict with each other. Like the Switch 2, I play the Switch 2 docked 99% of the time. Handheld every once in a while, sometimes I'll pick it up and utilize it. Even though I bought the grip, I still don't use it that much. It's like I want to play my console games on a TV with the OLED with the good sound system. And when I play my console games, I want to have this like great experience. If I'm playing handheld, I'm getting such a lesser experience in terms of visual and audio, and it's like at that point I may as well play like a handheld game. But if I use Nintendo Switch Online and play a Game Boy game, this form factor is such overkill for such a tiny game. This form factor I feel is way more appropriate, and when I'm playing a Game Boy Advance game, this form factor feeds into the nostalgia, like, and there's value in that, and that makes the experience more fun. It's way easier to pick this up and play it. I mean, just to hold this is way lighter than the Switch 2. It's heavy. My elbows are like locking the whole time holding this, and after like 30 minutes it's like kind of tough, and I feel like I have to be careful when putting it down, where like this I could just like, whatever, just close it, put it down, and like not super care about it, because again, we're talking about 500 versus $50. I've been playing a lot of DS though lately, because I actually play my games. Like I built the Anbernic and got it all set up, but I already started playing some DS games. And like again, the 3DS is just an amazing form factor. Even let's compare the 3DS to the Switch 2, and the 3DS can play original DS games, so you have a huge library. That might not be the best video shot of that. Let me close it up, because if we're traveling and we have this in our bag, like look at the difference between that. It's just so much tinier, and so much more portable. And like, yeah, again, the 3DS, I probably won't take that one out of my house, because just like it's not easy to get another 3DS. I'm sure we're gonna, I'm sure the Ambernick. I know they have a DS version coming that like just came out, but it's not that great apparently. So still waiting on that. But yeah, this is something that I'll bring out in a lot of places. A really weird, probably unique example I can think of, like once my kids get older, I imagine in my head that like if I have to bring them to like sports practice or like a dance like practice, and I'd be sitting in the car for an hour just like waiting. If I'm sitting there playing a game, this would be such a more like little handle, Tetris or something, that I would just sit there in the front seat of the car playing this as I kill some time, which is just way more comfortable than this huge handheld. And also like just like the battery life too. Like if I was going to use like a PC handheld that has like a 2 hour battery, I'd really have to make sure that's charged before I do such a thing, versus like just something small like this that has way longer battery life, and just like way more casual games just for like some time killing. I think that's better than just doom scrolling. But I'm in a unique situation because like we just bought like a minivan this year, and it has like a TV with like a 1080p screen, and it's got an HDMI port and a power outlet. And so I always like kind of like make this joke with like the Switch 1 being such an obsolete console now, that a good use case of the Switch 1 is to set it up in the back of the car, especially if you do like a long family road trip, and let the kids play like Mario Kart 8 on the TV. As a kid, I think that would have been awesome, such an awesome experience. And I'm just like, well, let's say I'm sitting for an hour killing time, and I want to play a console game. I may as well get the console experience and like sit in the back and put it on the TV and use like a controller instead of this handheld experience, It's just like, I don't know, they don't make handheld games anymore. And I have a video coming up soon about Pokemon and modern Pokemon games, and like the conversation with the around modern Pokemon games, or how bad the graphics are. And like with the Switch 2, Nintendo used to have like their console divisions and their handheld divisions, and then with the Switch 1 they put it all on one console, and they their studios are combined, and they're still kind of making console games and handheld games, and you can kind of tell. It sucks that they're usually priced very similarly, but you can tell which ones are handheld games and which ones are console games. Mario versus Donkey Kong, I think that was like $50. I remember that they remade that one. That was clearly a handheld game, but it's on Switch because Switch is this all-in-one, and because it's this all-in-one, you so much conversation, and it's Pokemon's such a low-hanging fruit of how bad the graphics are. But like in my mind, it's like I want more games of bad graphics that ideally to be cheaper. It sucks that they make them full price, but it's like let it be a handheld game. Like it's an all in one. Like I want my console games, I want my handheld games. Um, I know indie fills that gap a little bit, but just like eh, again, then the form factor really isn't there. I think it's like the perfect time for Nintendo, honestly, to how they did the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic. Like if they made a Game Boy Classic or Game Boy Advance Classic, where it was like $50 to $100, and you could just get basically this, like with Ambernick, like with just like 30 games on it or something, 30 of the best Nintendo games. I would buy it. I would use it so much. I mean, like, I would get those for my kids. Like I think there's a huge market for that with the Switch 2 hitting $450, but it's probably gonna be $500 in 2026. With this hitting the 500 price point, and that's the cheapest of these handhelds. The Steam Deck is what, like 600 or 700? I don't know the price of the Steam Deck. There's different versions. Um, and the ROG Ally X being like $1,000, it's like there's such a hole in the market for 150 $200 price range. I mean, Nintendo's even up to the price of like this Nintendo Switch 1, and the Switch Lite is from $200 to $230. I have a Switch Lite handheld, and I bought that mainly because of like how big I thought the Switch 1 was, and it wasn't portable. I want to play like my GBA NSO games on my Switch Lite, or just like smaller Switch games on Switch Lites when it's just like when I want to play handheld mode. Like I kind of want that dedicated handheld, the dedicated games. But yeah, it's like because it's a two-in-one. If Nintendo or anybody releases a game on Nintendo Switch, both a console and a handheld, and if the graphics are bad because it's kind of more of a handheld game, it people are going to destroy it for having bad graphics. But not every game is supposed to be a console game. It's supposed to be a handheld game, and like in my last video, I'm talking about like Sonic Rush and how they don't make games. And like, first off, like, I'm so happy how many comments of people are saying that they're either playing Sonic Rush right now or they've played it within the last month. Like, I think that's awesome, you guys, that like so many people are like playing such an obscure game. I truly thought I might have been the only one in the world playing this game. Like who's playing this game? They could make this game and release this game right now. The graphics, like, it's not like they're great, so Nintendo DS, there's nothing stopping this game from being made right now. But if they did make this game right now, people would destroy it for having terrible graphics. And that sucks because it'd be nice to have new games like this. Of course, I'd want it to be priced appropriately, like 20 or $30. Um, and games do come out and they're 20 and $30, but sometimes they're like broken or they're overkill. And it's just like, I don't know. Uh, I don't want to like be in tutorial. Like again, in the scenario where I'm sitting for sports practice for an hour, I don't want to be playing a modern Switch 2 game and spending the time doing tutorial or like doing cutscene or something. Like I'm just there to kill time, and I don't want to doom scroll my phone. I don't want to play mobile games. Like I know mobile games, like that's kind of the like, oh, like you don't like, why would you want to play a tiny game on the go? That's what mobile's for. And that might have been true back in like 2010 with like Angry Birds, Cut the Rope, Temple Run. Like games are kind of good then, but now mobile games are just full of just like dailies and like I don't microtransactions, and it's just so annoying. And then I have to kill my phone and or like kill the phone battery. And like even with Sonic Rush, like I think all-in-one devices are cool, but there's something to be said about like dedicated just devices that do one thing. So like I'm playing Sonic Rush, and there's like a level like in like level 4, and I couldn't get over this barrier. And like probably as a kid I would have been stuck and gave up. But it's 2025. So like I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like look at like how the heck do you get up this? And like you had to do this like trick thing at the peak of your jump to get up, and you press R to do this trick. And there's no tutorial in this game that taught you how to do it. I really need to check the manual to see if it says in the manual how to do that. I'm very interested. But I had to look it up. And so I had to switch to my phone to look it up. And if it was like a mobile game, I'd have to like get out of the game, look it up, come back in. But it's like I could have like both devices up at the same time. My DS and like sitting on the table while I look up the, you know, like what the heck is going on here? Like what am I missing that like I should know about? Um, and so just like I don't know, and it's like this is an all-in-one device, console and handheld. It does both, but it's like because it's an all-in-one. It's probably easier to like throw down on like the ROG Ally X. It's like yeah, you can install your emulators on it. It's an all-in-one device. It can do everything. But because it can do everything, like it doesn't do some things well. It's like I don't want to have this huge device to play a Game Boy Advance game when I can use this device for Game Boy Advance. Like this is way more appealing to me, and just yeah, I feel like there's no more handheld in the modern era. There's no modern handheld gaming. It's console gaming that you can do portably, but these devices are so like expensive that it's like the people who can afford it, like me, like yeah, I could buy a ROG Ally X for $1,000, but I'm never gonna use it portably. I'll use it around the house, I guess. But like if I'm using it around the house, why not just play on my PC and get the better experience, get the better audio and visual experience? But if you're like a teenager or something where like, video games have historically been targeted to, you can't afford a $1,000 handheld and that you would probably use it more and go more, go to the in-laws and you have like 12 hours to kill. And it's like, all right, I played Game Boy back then at my grandparents' house, and something like that to be able to play my console games for that amount of time would be great because you have the time to play a console game and make it worth it on the go. But you can't afford it. So like when you're old enough to afford it, you don't have the time to actually use it. And maybe that's why the like handheld PC market isn't like massive. Um Again, I love the Switch too, but I treat it as a console. I don't treat it as a handheld. I rarely use it as a handheld. Um I like the option. Sometimes like my wife and I we get into like a situation where maybe we're playing Switch and like for an hour before bed and recline our bed up, and we did that with Animal Crossing. It was a ton of fun. Uh, but that was 5 years ago, so it's like we're not like that's not like our primary option. And like results may vary. Some people might, if you have more time, then having your console games on the go it has more and more benefit to it. But it's just like I just feel like there's no modern game or no modern handheld gaming, and like modern handheld gaming is dead and non-existent. Even though like on paper like back when the DS was out, maybe you guys were around where there were rumors about Halo on the DS, and I always thought that it was amazing to have Halo on the DS. Just like the dream of that was like this would be incredible. But I never thought or wanted Halo 1 or Halo 2 on the DS. I wanted a Halo DS game. I wanted a just its own game in the IP in the world. Just kind of like Sonic Rush. This is a Sonic game on the DS. This isn't like Sonic Frontiers on the DS or something like that. It was a handheld version, a handheld entry in an IP I loved. But now we have Halo on the handhelds. Like you can play it on a handheld PC, but it's, Master Chief Collection. It's Halo 1, 2, 3. It's not like a handheld Halo game. It's Halo that you can play handheld and portably. And just like then my use cases of playing handheld in those little pockets of time, I can't play Halo in this tiny pocket of time. I mean, Halo might be actually a bad example because the way that game is structured, like yeah, I could probably play it for 10 or 15 minutes and have fun. But like I don't know, a bigger RPG or something like Elden Ring. I ain't gonna play Elden Ring like in the car for an hour or something, especially a game that like you can't like pause in the middle of. Like yeah, I can play that portably, but I don't know. Yeah, I'd rather play like Pokemon, like Fire Red, Leaf Green. Yeah, I guess they make modern Pokemon too. But like Tetris is such a good example. Just Tetris time killing. Yeah, on a plane or something. Just really just kill time. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, do you think that portable, like handheld gaming is the best it's ever been? I mean, yeah, you can make an argument for that. Absolutely, with the types of games you can play portably and all that. But like in practice, I don't ever want to really do that. Very rarely want to play my console games in a handheld mode. I'd rather play a handheld game in handheld mode and on a smaller form factor. And I think there's just a huge hole in the market. Hopefully someone does it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. If they try to release a handheld only game and it's not on Nintendo Switch, then there'd just be like a bunch of backlash about that. And I don't know, maybe they dug themselves in a hole. But yeah, stuff like with the classics, if they release a Game Boy Classic, I think this is the best time for Nintendo to do that, and I think that's all pretty well. Um, Maybe PlayStation can beat them to the punch this time. A PSP Classic, I'd be about that because I skipped to the PSP. I would love that actually, and yeah, maybe they could beat Nintendo to the punch this time instead of making their crappy PS1 Classic and trying to follow that trend. Maybe it's their turn to try to start the trend. But I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. And yeah, like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. And again, from that last video with the people who resonated with Sonic Rush, also got a lot of recommendations of games to play, and absolutely like super appreciate all those recommendations. And yeah, I have no idea actually what I'm gonna play next. When it comes to the DS, like my handheld stuff, like I'm still playing this game. Like I said, I'm a gamer. I play my games. And I only have little pockets of time, so like I don't know how many more weeks Sonic Rush is gonna be. Just part of my life. But console gaming, I'm in the middle of Gears of War 4 and going to play Gears of War 5 next. And yeah, like right now, like maybe it's like, oh, do I play Prime 4 or do I play Prime 2 first? Or yeah, like whatever I feel now, I don't know if I'm gonna feel that same way in 2 weeks, but like definitely taking note of all the recommendations you guys are dropping. It's making me hyped and nostalgic for so many different types of games. Like PS3, someone was talking about Resistance, Fall of Man. Like I've always wanted to play that game. That makes me want to hook up my PS3. But yeah, I feel like just like yeah, play relevant games and live in the moment. And so like my moment now is, and the way I feel now is not the same way I'm gonna feel in a couple weeks. So I try to plan like here are like 5 different like games that like I might want to play, but we'll see what happens when we get to that time. And maybe it won't even be one of those 5 games. Maybe I'll just like pivot last minute. And like I think more people should do that. Like you don't have to have a backlog checklist of this is the order I'm gonna play my games in. I used to do that, but I'm trying to be way more flexible and just like, yeah, is it gonna be modern? Is it gonna be retro? I don't know. But yeah, like subscribe and like we'll see what happens. And yeah, hope you enjoyed and see you in the next video.